What up? It's your girl Tania, aka the Cool Auntie, and this is the Cool Auntie Podcast Season 2, y'all. I'm lit. Can you believe we're already in Season 2? And I still feel like I'm doing this for the very first time, but just know that from the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much for rocking with the brand, for rocking with this, but more importantly, for being a part of this journey with me, man. And we are in Season 2. I feel like, I'm excited for Season 2 because you know what? I ain't gonna lie. Season 1 was a lot of healing, and while it was very therapeutic, I was sad and I was tired of being sad. So now I'm like, bet, we lit, we outside, right? And so introducing Season 2, this series is called The Re-Up. And before your mind goes to the left, because I already know how y'all are, it's not what you think. And so, quick story. Y'all know I love music so much. And prior to the pandemic, one of my favorite things to do were concerts. I love concerts. I love festivals. That's probably one of the only things that I will spend top dollar for because I gotta be in the front. I don't want to be at a concert. I'm in the back, and I want to be able to see the sweat glisten off their bodies. Right? That's me. And so I was thinking back. Just now thinking about, okay, what does the re-up mean to me and those things? I remember my favorite, to this day, one of my favorite concerts of all time. And that was J. Cole, Forest Hills Drive. Not only because J. Cole is one of my favorite artists of today, but also because first of all, he didn't have any, well, he had a couple of guests actually, but it was like legit just him sitting on a house rapping. But I loved it because I got to go to the concert in his hometown in Fayetteville, and so it was up, y'all, and it was the best concert ever. And then Apple Music dropped the album, like the live recording of the album. So when I play it, I get flashbacks to when I was actually there. But on that same album, I know he just dropped a new album that's also fire. If you haven't listened to that, please do. It'll definitely make you think. But on his Forest Hills Drive album, like, he had the song called Love Yours. And he had a bar in there that I repeat all the time because it stuck with me. And I think it's one of his best ones. And it was, good news, nigga, you came a long way. The bad news, nigga, is that you went the wrong way, right? And it was like, like, and that happens, like, and I was like, it made me think, because it happens all the time, right? Many a times where we're so busy trying to bounce back and move on, and we're either running from our past or we're chasing our goals, and sometimes we're going so fast that we aren't being intentional about the direction that we're headed in, And so I know we're in this season of things opening up. I won't say post-pandemic because we're still kind of in it, but this idea of the world opening up, right? We outside, and it's all great, But we can't ignore the fact that the pandemic changed us all. It changed us mentally, it changed us emotionally. Everybody who I meet, from students to clients to friends to family, everybody's in this space of resetting. They've been reevaluating their life, reevaluating their life choices, their careers, their finances, everything. We're in this space of just everything. We're reestablishing. We're resetting in so many different areas. And so the re-up is really about that. For all my people who are not only after we've processed and we've gone through that healing of broken crayon, still color, but people who are in this space of question marks, who are changing routes, right? Making U-turns in life. And recognizing that when you're doing that it's so important to be intentional, right? To be intentional about that. And so I know I am in that space personally and professionally. And I know that I am not alone in that. And so, like I always tell y'all, this journey, we in this thing together for the long haul, because no one should do life alone, and we're not, right? Because I got you and you got me. I know you do. And so without further ado, I'm super excited to bring you all the Re-Up, the Cool Auntie Podcast, Season 2. It's up. For our first episode, I have my friend, my brother, Andre Wise, aka the Humble Genius. Y'all are going to love this, because when me and Andre get together, It's nothing but bars, nothing but gems, but more importantly, nothing but good energy. But outside of that, y'all, we go, listen, I got some really, 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 really great things in store for y'all this season. And so, as always, you know, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I say that because I mean it. Like, I want you to know I love you. Even if I don't know you personally, I love you. I love you just for being here. I love you for being you. Just period. I love you. And we got it. You got it. Whatever it is, you got it. And if you ain't think you got it, I'm telling you, you got it. All right? Because he's got you. That's all that matters. Let's get into it. The re-up. We are officially in season 2. Right? Season 2, the re-up. And then mind you, when you say re-up around black people, the mind goes to the left, right? Or this is my right. The mind goes to the left, right?
And so the plug.
Period, right? But for me, like, the re-up was really about all of the re's. I feel like we're all in this re era where it's like, okay, we all understand that life is not the same, therefore that we cannot be the same. Right. And we're seeing about things being open and things going, I guess, back to normal, whatever that is. But I think everyone I talk to, everybody's in this space of resetting. We're changing jobs. We're changing goals. We're changing relationship dynamics. We're just all in this rerouting, resetting, reestablishing phase. And so it only felt right to create a space where we can do it together and we can make sure that people understand what they are resetting and why. Mm-hmm. You know? And I think more than anything, what I'm hearing people say is that it's really this idea about purpose. I think the pandemic really kind of put purpose into perspective for people. It's like the things that we relied on, the things that were priorities for us, things that we put all of our trust and all that fell apart this past year. I think now we're trying to find new anchors, and people are asking that question of like, why am I here? You know, and I think that's hard to do, especially when you're also dealing with life. Like, life is also happening while you're trying to figure that out. And when I was thinking about this topic, I'm like, yo, there's only one person I could come to my mind that I'm like, who's had to reset while life is happening. And so, like, I couldn't even imagine having this conversation with anybody but you. Like, I really, like, to be, like, and it's not to toot your own horn, toot your horn, because trust me, I do not believe in gas people if they don't deserve to be gassed. But, like, you are someone who, like, I just, like, okay, who else can speak on this? And so, without further ado, I really want to take this time for everybody who's rocking with the Cool Auntie for season 2 to introduce not just a friend, like your family, like, period. This is family right here, y'all. Without further ado, I want to introduce Andre Wise, aka the Humble Genius, aka my ace. Boom. Okay, I had to hit the Millie for you. Okay, the Millie is for you. Okay.
I appreciate you.
Welcome to Auntie's house. How you doing?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. My shoes is off, but you know, aunties don't play that game.
Okay, period. You already know, okay? Period. I love it. And so,
grateful to be here. Is the sage in the background?
Burning. You know, okay, the ambiance is always good. Always good. Energy is always good.
I'm feeling it. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I hate to introduce people because I feel like at the end of the day, no one knows you better than you. And so I want to use this opportunity to give to you it's going to sound so crazy, but who are you in this space? Right? Who are you in this space? Because you are a lot of things, but who are you now?
I love that question because it's been such a journey. And as I move further on my journey, I realize that it's completely okay for you to be different today than you are tomorrow. Period. Completely different in this moment than you were at the last moment. And so to be asked who you are in this moment, in this space, is a consideration of your freedom. Consideration of, and even sometimes not just a consideration, but an encouragement to make that choice and that decision. And that's really who I am in my totality, right? I am a person where I was walking through my house earlier and I felt my purpose shifting in definition in my mind. And I'm like, I'm walking through the house and I'm like, Drake, what are you here for? And I've asked myself that question so many times, but the answer never is uninteresting. You know, it's always something just groundbreaking, right? And I'm walking through my house and I'm like, I used to think that I was supposed to help people heal. And that was the first thing I thought. I help people heal. Help people heal. And I haven't realized until late that perspective was locking me into seeing, feeling, and hearing pain first. And so, like, who I am in this space right now, I'm an educator. I'm a poet. I am a community activist, philanthropist. Give love out my pockets. If it's in there, you got it. You know, like, I want to encourage people to live their fullest lives, their fullest selves. And I believe my purpose is to, this is where it got real for me today. I believe my purpose is to help people become their own best friend.
Period. Oh my God. See, this is why he's family, y'all, because like literally, okay, stay tuned for BYOB, okay, program coming your way for that very reason. And oh my gosh, we'll come back to that. Okay, but I want to go back to something that you just said about this idea of a journey. Because I think like not only is it identity, and like who you are, but what you're meant to do, and like things like purpose and your passions, like those are a constant journey because as you're evolving, so do those things. I always tell like my students and my clients, I want you to imagine that you're always in an egg, right? Because once you crack one egg and you grow in one area, then you're right back in the egg again to experience something totally new. And that's okay, right? It's a journey. And I think speaking about that, your mantra, that I'm always, every time I hashtag it on a post, I'm like, my dog, you know? Your mantra is keep going. And I think I would love to ask you, like, what's the meaning behind that? So now with all your titles and what you're meant to do as far as, or how you feel like you're supposed to inspire and connect with people, what does keep going mean? Especially in today.
Well, in order to tell you what it means, I got to tell you where it came from.
Period.
So back in November of 2017, I was pretty fed up with where I was, and I was at that, what's your purpose again? But I needed tangible evidence. It wasn't going to just come from a thought. I need to go do something. That thing to me became taking a one-way trip to Cali with $100 in my pocket. I was there for 3 months, ended up working with an NBA All-Star. I got all these experiences and spent one night on the street. It challenged every single idea I had about my own existence as well as how my existence could affect other people. It challenged everything. It broke everything down. Which leads me to this point. I had just left Afrotech, National Black Conference, and happens out in Oakland. Facebook, WhatsApp, Netflix, all the top execs from those companies are out there, and they're building and talking about the innovations and the upcoming things. I'm on cloud nine. I've managed to finagle my way in because I told him I was on media. I got twine wrapped around my waist because I'm broke. I don't have a belt. I had $20 left to eat. First slice of pizza was $6. I got $14 left to eat for the next 3 days. I managed to finesse my way into the conference. They had a lunch truck each day, so I was able to eat both days. It was absolutely a crazy experience because, like I said, I got stretched, right? So in that experience, I'm there, I'm at that conference, and, you know, I got 1 day left at the hostel and I'm leaving. That's where I had a 3-day stay at a hostel and I didn't know what I was doing after that. Whatever happened at the conference was going to have to be the next little pivotal point. I leave the conference to go back to the hostel to pick up my luggage from the luggage room where they let you store your luggage before and after checkout. I go to the room where I stored my luggage and it wasn't there. I step out and I look at the lady at the front desk and I say, hey, did anybody like come in here since I left and take luggage out? Looked like it had a hat on it or something maybe. She was like, what luggage? At the moment she said, what luggage?
You know what's going.
I already knew it. I'm like, if she has no clue and there's a camera there, but they don't know who's been coming in and out, and there's strangers here from all over the world checking in and out. My GoPro's in there, the business cards from the conference, my poetry books. Mind you, it was a one-way trip. So I took the last of what I had from the last home that I was in that I figured I might come back to, but just in case I don't, here's everything. Last of clothes, everything. I stand there with my hoodie, my pants, and my book bag Fortunately, I had literally all I had left was my MacBook and a camera. That was it. So I walk downstairs. I walk outside to the corner. I just start crying. Like 30 straight minutes. I'm bawling because I'm like, but like standing straight up, standing strong and everything.
I appreciate you saying that. 'Cause I feel like a lot of times with men, they feel like it's not manly to cry. But like in that moment, what the F else are you about to do?
I was at the end of my rope.
Literally.
I was literally at the end of all of who I was. I was spent. I was hungry. My pants was too big. I was annoyed. I felt like worthless, but trying to find value in myself. So now I feel incompetent. Like, why didn't you take your bag with you and find somewhere to put like all these things, right? And like, you just lost all these opportunities. You don't got this tool now, And I'm just like, woo. So I cried for like 20, 30 minutes. And then I'm like shaking it off. I'm still standing there at the corner and I look up at the sky and I'll never forget. I don't know what it was. Something told me, you better not ask why. You better not ask why. Because that hole, that deep, dark hole, I just didn't have a good feeling about it. In that moment, I was so frustrated. But when I have my conversations with God or whoever, what is all that is, I get real. I don't, I'm at your neck the way you're at mine because we are trying to do something. So I looked at the sky and I said, what do you want me to do? Like attitude though.
But you know what? I love that because I think people also don't believe that you can do that with God. But like, it's like, no, like he wants you to like, bring whatever it is, bring, because he can't fix it. He can't address what you don't bring to him.
And you know what answer I got in that moment?
Keep going.
The most sure tone, steady, not angry. And the caveat was, you don't need anything you just lost.
You lack no good thing.
You lack nothing. You have everything you need. And if anything, it was weighing you down. Keep going. And sure as I stood there, I didn't feel like there was any other choice. I knew the alternative was I'm done and I'll find a way to go home. But I didn't even have a way to go home. I had no money. So I couldn't even go home, right? So I'm like, okay, I need to find somewhere to go sleep tonight. Fortunately, I'm a networker, so I had networked with some folks. Even the reason that I was out there, one of the people that gave me awareness of California, they were out there and they just so happened to have like an in-law suite. I got a call. I called and they hadn't answered. A couple hours later, got a call back, told me to come through. Had a mother-in-law suite. I'm talking like bed, TV, Mac screen, everything that I needed, private bathroom. And I'm like, I'm almost shocked, right? Because I walk in and I'm like, mind you, I still got the twine wrapped around my waist. I had to go to Big Lots because I couldn't afford a belt. I had to buy a $3 roll of twine, cut it because my pants were falling because I wasn't eating as much while I'm on the trip. So I'm losing weight really, really rapidly, right? So I'm like, all right, I have nothing and I feel like nothing. I feel like Huckleberry Finn out here, bro. Like, and so I get to her crib and I'm like, I just broke down in tears and I just hugged her. Like, I was like, bro, like I was literally, and don't get me, now keep in mind, right? I am an emotional person. My emotions are not always on display, but I was near a mental breakdown while I was in California. The reason I took the trip is because I was losing my sense of self. The purpose of the trip was to find sense of self. What I found were the things that were stopping me from cultivating a sense of self.
But go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. And it was like that moment taught me that there is always a choice of stop and keep going. And that's really the only choice. You do good, you stop or you keep going. Something bad happens, you stop or you keep going. And so if that's your only choice, there's so many other things that don't matter in life because when you get to the obstacle, you're like, okay, you're going to keep going. You go through it, you go over it, you go around it, or you settle for a second, it subsides, and then you keep going. But that's always the option. If you know that there is no other option besides your forward momentum, then so many other things start to like just fall off from your vision because you're not looking for obstacles. You're looking for a way.
So, but even to that, I want to go back to something that you said, because I think a lot of times you said you were going there looking for self, and instead you found all things that were wrong. And so I feel like even that, like I think about, like I don't know. I guess I envision like us all being in our own boats on this journey, and I feel like the pandemic exposed where our holes were. So imagine being in a boat that has holes in it and you got water coming out of everywhere. You like, crap. Like you, sometimes, and mind you, for some people, it's so much water, you can't even tell where the holes are. You just don't know that they exist. And I think, again, in that moment, you feel like you don't have any options because you don't have anything to close the holes with. Mind you, most of the time we're on that, to your point about like loneliness, we're on that boat by ourselves, or so we think. Right. And so like, where do you go from there? And I think this idea of self, we're all on this exploration of self. Right. And I've been having just different conversations, and everyone just keeps saying, oh, my passion and my purpose. And we're seeing it with the rise in entrepreneurship and people starting businesses and LLCs. Everyone's in this pursuit of purpose and passion. But then one day I asked a student, what's the difference? And they had no clue.
Between passion and purpose?
Yes. So then, you know what I did? I asked somebody else, and they also had no clue. Then I went to a professor, and I asked a professor what they thought, and they also had no clue. I'm like, yo, here I am thinking that everyone understood the difference between passion and purpose, and I learned, yo, people don't. Mm-hmm. And so like I mentioned, like I was telling folks that before you hopped on, this idea of, I never forget, I love J. Cole so much, but a verse that I will always remember is he was like, you know, good news, nigga. Good news is like you came a long way. The bad news is you went the wrong way. And so my concern more than anything is that as people are assessing their boat as they're going, right? Everyone wants to keep going. But one thing I learned in driver's ed that we stopped doing after the tests was they always make you do an inspection of your vehicle before you get in the car. You notice that? Like, you do not pass your driver's test if you don't do the walk around the car before you get in. However, how many of us actually do that since we got our license?
And you know what's crazy? The reason why a lot of people aren't successful and or happy is because they don't walk around the car every single day. Every single day.
Period.
Because you're different this moment from the next moment, today from the next day. So you tomorrow might not want the goal you set yesterday. The difference between passion and purpose is that passion is yours, purpose is given.
Period.
You have the emotions, the wherewithal, the tenacity to move through what your path calls on from you. Through your purpose. You are taught through your purpose. You want to know what your purpose is? Look at the biggest lessons you've ever learned, where you learned them from, and what they were trying to teach you. But the thing is, we're not always encouraged to ask those questions, right?
Hence why this podcast exists.
There we go. Boom. You know, is this the commercial? Is this the commercial?
Shameless plug. No.
You but can always hire me for a voiceover program. I'll give you a Morgan Freeman for 50% off every time.
I cannot. But it's crazy. Like I always tell people, like, there's a difference between talent, passion, and purpose, right?
Absolutely. Talent
is just that you have the ability to do something and you have the ability to do it well. Right? Passion means that you like to do it. You enjoy doing it. You're fulfilled when you do it. But to your point, purpose is what you are born to do.
And then what does that lead to? Because there's an M word that I want you to say. I want you to say. I will say it if you don't say it.
You know what? This is your show.
Passion, purpose. Now, once you get into a rhythm of those, that's when you enter into the level of mastery. And that's when the purpose will start to use you like they got a remote control. Absolutely. And when you can submit to your purpose, you don't even need passion in the moments where you're called because the energy isn't coming from you. Whoever or whatever called you to do what you're supposed to do, when I go hit a stage, I ask for permission first. You understand?
Okay, that anointing, honey.
I ask for assistance. I ask for clarity because I'm like, you know what? I might not even always feel worthy when I'm called to a stage, but I was called, which means that I am. But my brain thinks that I'm not. Doesn't mean that the vessel is incapable. So I will submit. If you're going to use the vessel, then I'll submit to that. And I'll let the brain catch up later because sometimes I don't believe in myself till after it's done.
So, and I love that point because I think that's why people tend to misinterpret and confuse passion and purpose because purpose, while it sounds good, it's challenging, right? Because again, that passion is what you like to do. But everything that you like to do, you can still do those. Doesn't mean you're meant to do it and where God wants to use you, right? Purpose is, and I love how you mentioned about how looking at your past trauma. And so I want to come back to that because I think sometimes too, the question is like, okay, well then how do I decipher between my passion and my purpose? Because naturally you want to do what you like to do, not what you're necessarily meant to do.
And I feel like we're doing a lot of I talk, right? A lot of self-talk. And what I have learned as a primary practice of studying myself is to take a step outside of myself, to observe self in thought and emotion, to say what's going on and why and how is all of that contributing to what you are supposed to be doing. There's a lot you got to handle as a result of being a human. Those things don't necessarily always fit right in line with your purpose, but they usually do train you in some odd way for your purpose.
Absolutely. Or you hear the term about how passion fuels purpose. I hear that.
Yes. But when you're trying to figure out your passion and you're like, well, I want to feel passionate all the time. I want to do that. Like you're trying to do it for you. And that's why the well runs dry usually. When you are in service and you're trying to do it for someone else, it's like, number one, it's always either you or them that's benefiting. You or them, or both. You or them. And so if that's the case, right, because you don't even always like you all the time, right? You might not even always like other people. But if you like the idea of being a person that contributes to society and pays your rent no matter what, because no matter whether you like your landlord or not, you pay rent, correct?
Period. Yep.
Unless you might not like the world that you might not like the world that we live in, but if you don't want to get evicted, it is best that you pay your rent.
Absolutely. And I even love how you said that because I think the clearest distinction between passion and purpose is to that point is that passions serve you, right? You do them because they bring you joy. They bring you fulfillment. They fill a void, right? That passion's for you, whereas purpose is how you serve other people. And I think like we live in that YOLO society where everyone's living for
why
them.
You serve other people.
Okay.
Purpose is why. The purpose, like why? Purpose, why? Purpose, why? Like hand in hand, right? So like when your why is bigger than you, that's right. What we're talking about.
But the thing is, the why has always been, we don't know it, right? God didn't put us here to just be here, just to be out here living. We are all here. Like the thing is, like God says he gives gifts to us to serve the body. Not our body, but the body. And so the things that he put in you, your gifts, your talents, your strengths, they weren't designed to serve you. They were designed because the people that you encounter need it.
And the crazy part is a lot of people will interpret it as like that somehow you're not included in that, right? It's like, no, you don't, your needs don't get sacrificed by you doing for other people. You get more from serving other people, so much so that you have literally all that you need. And that's what happened. If you just go for you, then you're going to have enough for you really, really quick because it's not hard to do that. You're just following a blueprint of some other successful human trying to get a resource, trying to come out on top. Okay, cool. Now, once you get there, what are you supposed to do from there? If you don't know what to do with the overflow, that's where you'll lose your mind.
Absolutely. Because see, even to your point, like there's two sides to that. Number one, God says, you take care of my sheep, I take care of you. Right? So if you're serving, and I learned that, like I ain't gonna lie, and I'll be fully transparent. I did not used to give to the homeless at all. Because in my head, but plus, growing up in Philly, that there's scammers. So like, I didn't want to give them money to go, to go buy drugs or to go, or like, mind you, they go hop in the Benz after I give them $5, right? But when I started to do it, when I tell you, I give $5 a week later, that Friday, somebody like, you know what, Tania, I'm taking you to lunch. Mind you, they had no idea what I had did just days prior. but he always showed up. Or like, I got a refund for something. Like, oh, we charged you. Or don't worry about it. That coffee's like it. When you take care of his sheep, he takes care of you. But I think also too, to your point, there is personal fulfillment when you're walking in purpose. Like when I have my clients, I don't do what I do for money. I do it because when they have their ahas moments, when they get healed, when they're walking in their purpose, it does something for me. Even if I never benefit from their purpose, it does something for me. I feel fulfilled that I helped someone else.
I see it as circulation. That's what I see in general, right? And here's the thing. I've gotten to the point where I don't even judge. I literally had somebody walk up to me at a gas station, ask me for $5 because his kids were in the car and he needed gas. He was at the gas pump. This girl was literally in the driver's seat. I'm like, there's a lot going on, but this is where I had gotten to in life. If you ask me and I just so happen to be in that state of mind and I can give it to you, then I probably will. I don't even want to know if your story's real or not. I'm not trying to judge or figure out, because no matter what, your story, like people lie because they're embarrassed. He could have needed to go feed him, but really said he needed gas. And so if I get mad that he didn't get gas, now I'm like, well, and it's too much. I see my opportunities to help other people as opportunities to put things into circulation. And if I'm asking for things in circulation, or I need circulation to move so that I can be in flow, who am I to stop the circulation? I don't have to contribute at every single moment, right? But do you know how daunting it is to try to figure out if people are actually in need or not?
Oh, like
what they need. And even if that's the thing, right? You never know. Even if I give $10 to a drug addict and he ends up going to go buy some drugs right that moment. What if that fix was the only thing that kept him alive for that night, and 10 years later he got sober and saved somebody's life?
Yes. It's like,
you don't know. You don't even know how these things happen. So I've been finding just to your point, like I heard you talk about it. It's like, because that used to happen to me as well, right? When I was homeless and walking through the streets of Philadelphia, I would have 75 cents in my pocket. Somebody would say, hey, do you have change? The questions are really specific from people in need. If you listen, like they ask like, hey, do you have any change? I'm like, yes, I have change. And then I would give them 75 cents because I'm like, I really want dinner tonight. There's no way 75 cents is about to turn into $75. So like, if this money means more to you, I'm actually happy
and you
that
can
somebody
use it.
values this 75 cents because I use this 75 cents because I. It's just a very interesting concept of just like helping people, right? And I see sometimes those instances, every human you meet is a reflection of you. Mm. And at some point in time, you've been at a low moment. You've been at a time where you needed some money or needed something, but couldn't ask for it, didn't know why. Sometimes we need to give compassion and empathy to the liars and the bigots and all those people as well, too.
Right. But even going back to your point, I think of it's crazy because their names both begin with D, of just people who they're people I think who I just admire so much because of how they think. I go back to that DMX interview that he did with on Drink Champs. Right? When he was talking about how like it's too much, like to your point, you never know anybody's intentions and it's too stressful to figure it out. A pastor who I love, Darius Daniels in New Jersey, he says that, we are responsible for obedience. God is responsible for the outcome, right? Obedience for us, outcome is his. So all you have to do is your part. He looks at your heart. So whatever you did, like, so even that moment, if they asked 75 and all you can give was a quarter, even if it wasn't what they needed, God looks at your heart. Did you give what you had? And
it's you having an opportunity to be what it is you need at scale.
But to that point, I think that's even a great point, because I think sometimes too, people think that purpose is finite, that it's one singular thing. But you have purpose everywhere. You gotta think, like, we change jobs, and at every job that you have purpose there. For some jobs, you are sent there to change your supervisor. There are some jobs you're sent there to change the culture. There are some jobs you're sent because you have to meet and rub elbows with somebody who also works there. Every place, every season, every moment. Like maybe God held you up in traffic because you had to get to a certain store at a certain time to be behind somebody in line who needed you to pay for their groceries. Like purpose is however God can use you in that moment, in that space, in that season, in that time.
100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. And there are many moments. Some people don't realize you looking somebody in the eye and saying, hey, what's going on? How you doing? You doing all right? It's good to see you.
I'll never forget when I was in college. I just love people, and like once I like you know me. Once we meet, we're friends until you do something raggedy. But once we meet, raggedy. But we're friends. I never forget. I got this DM from this girl, and mind you, in my head when it happened, I didn't even think about it. She was saying about how one day I spoke to her in an elevator. Mind you, in my head, I'm just in the elevator. You know, mind you, it's just two of us, so to not talk is weird.
Right.
So I'm talking to her in the elevator. She said, Tania, you had no idea, but I was going to commit suicide that day because I didn't feel like I was seen. And I knew that you were popular. And the fact that you talked to me like a regular person, you changed my entire life. When I tell you, I bawled. Because I had no idea. I didn't even remember the conversation because it was just so casual to me. But ever since she said that, I speak to everybody, especially when they look sad. I find something to compliment them on. I speak. I make them smile or laugh, like, because you never know in that moment what people, like you said, what people need and what they're going through. And you hope that in your moments like that, somebody else does that for you.
I was thinking of a question the other day, and this conversation is really bringing it up for me. It was like I try to start my podcast with like a thought or a question, something that triggers the mind. And the question I thought of was, what if you already changed the world? I heard a story once of this little girl who was deaf and blind before age 5, lost both parents. She was in an institution. The institution couldn't get to her, couldn't help diagnose her in ways that would like help her develop further. And then one day they had her like locked away somewhere. And then one day this nurse came in. Was with her for a couple weeks. And then it was time for her to be reevaluated. Doctor goes to like walk in, notices that when his foot hits the steps that she's not yelling and screaming as usual. He thinks it's weird. So he's like, what's going on? She gets downstairs. And then this little girl is holding the nurse's hand. And they take her upstairs to be evaluated. And she is admitted into a school for the gifted. From there, she goes on to do a lot of things that I'm about to mention. But long story short, they don't know the nurse. They don't know where she came from, her name, her age, nothing. Just that she helped this little girl. And before she came, the little girl would not talk to anybody. And afterwards, she goes on to become Helen Keller. And so one person helping one person changed the whole world and the whole dynamic and landscape of what we call handicap, developmentally challenged, however it is you want to look at it. It changed that whole stratosphere just because one person refused to give up on a traumatized young woman who understandably was not able to understand her surroundings. And so I think that story changed me forever because I started to think about my whole life. I've always just been this happy-go-lucky black guy, you know, like, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? Like, been goofy. And like over time, I've been kind of chiseled a little bit, you know, like I don't have as much of it as I used to because the world doesn't exactly allow you to be that. And sure, I could just go do that, but then that's a little abrasive in certain environments. So you have to learn how to balance it, right? But I've always just had this desire to give love. I've always been that person. And I'm a Cancer. So I'm like, man, I and a poet. I'm like all these emotions, right? They're just sitting here with me, right? And so I do my best to give those to other people. When I see people, you got a nice jacket on, or your eyebrows look nice, or your edges look nice. Like I don't care, good shoes on. Like sir, that bow tie. And listen, edges, because you know edges, they can get kind of out of hand.
Oh. Okay, listen. Don't look at this. Don't zoom.
No. I'm talking about the manufactured ones. I'm not talking. Listen, your edges are what they are. I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about.
Mine are natural edges. The little bit I got, they natural.
I give compliments when people look nice, right? When people look nice, I give people compliments. And I just love to pour love into people. And it just that story made me reflect back on all the times that I had given something to someone. And then in the moments that I felt weak, I received it back. And when I received it back, it always felt like a full circle moment, right? And I never give to get. I give knowing I will get, knowing that there is no end to the abundance that I experienced once tapped into, right? Like
yes.
That's why I'm an enthusiastic Black man. That's why I'm a happy Black man, not by choice. I've had this in my body for a long time. I've not known how to handle it or what to do with it, which has helped me. I've had to go through life and, maybe not be accepted or be judged or people looking at me like I'm a certain kind of thing. So I don't look at people that way because I know exactly what it feels like. I give people love because I know exactly what it feels like to not be accepted for who you are, what you believe, and what you want to do. Unfortunately, I have experienced that, right? But instead of turning into that, I've just always felt like, well, why'd you do that to me? Like, why'd you criticize me for being who I honestly feel I'm supposed to be? I don't understand it yet, but you're criticizing me for the way that I'm trying to understand my own existence? That's not supposed to happen.
But I think even to your point, and I love this, because again, it's all kind of coming full circle about how I think to walk in purpose is really about intention. Because to your point, a lot of those people I've learned, so like I had that. So that's one of the reasons why I'm an educator. I'm an educator because educators had no idea how much they either played into my insecurities or into my confidence. Like the teachers, I always feel like there are 3 teachers from college until grade school, there were 3 teachers who gave me space to be me. Only 3. And all of them I'm friends with on Facebook. And when I announced what I was doing and walking in purpose, they all sent me a message or a comment that said, Tania, I am so happy to see that you are finally embracing who I always knew you were. And my thing is, they had no idea that in those moments when I met them, they were the people who kept me. But I learned hurt people. So people have no idea that their comments, their opinions, right? We live in a world where everybody got an opinion. Everybody want to comment and leave it and give their 2 cents. But if you're not mindful, you can mismanage your purpose. God could have you meeting a person and you were supposed, because you weren't intentional, you were supposed to pour into them, and instead you took from them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I think about this idea of walking in purpose. It's really about intention. I talk about all the time about being a faith-filled boss. And I'm reclaiming that word boss, because I think we turn boss into mean that you have to own a bunch of things and supervise a bunch of people and make a bunch of money. But no, boss is really about we move with intention. We're on the pursuit of, bosses are on the pursuit of purpose. Right. And I think a part of that, and I think I love even like to you sharing your story about your experience in Cali, about how even in pursuing purpose, there are going to be so many things that are beyond your control.
Oh, somebody said to me the other day, that was my favorite line ever.
What?
Control your controllables.
Wow. It's so crazy because I was just, okay, it's crazy. And I know we had this talk before, but I was telling somebody, I feel like the pandemic taught me, because I was that person. I'm a control freak. I have OCD. Y'all know that. Like I said, my white couches, I got OCD. But like the pandemic taught me, because I used to always think like, oh, Tania, we playing chess, not checkers. You hear that all the time, right? Chess, not checkers. The pandemic showed us that we're not even the players. We are simply pieces on the board. So the control we think we have is actually false, right? And so that's why, right? Which is why faith is so important, because they're gonna always, I don't care how on top of it you are, how intentional you are, there's gonna always be things out of your control that are beyond your understanding, beyond your comprehension, beyond your level of education or your money. How do you go about, and you've experienced all of that, right? You've been in situations where you had no control whatsoever. What role did faith really play in your entire in your experience?
Faith is everything, because having it, not knowing why, not exactly understanding how, but just knowing that It's the only thing you gotta have because it's the screw and nails that hold everything together. Because without it, for what?
It's so crazy because people like Tania, I never, my students are always like, Tania, like, you know, you believe a lot about God, but how come you never like try to convert people too much? I'm like, well, because one thing about God that you have to be like, I've been in places where all I had was faith. That things happened that I knew that I had no control over. I had no role in. I had literally nothing to do with that happened. And I knew that it had to do, like, it's like I believe in God because there have been times where I had no other choice and he was the only one that showed up for me.
And here's the thing. This concept for me is, like I said, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. So the concept of who and what God is like this, not necessarily judgmental, but kind of like, you know, judge magistrative type of thing in the sky that is saying what's right and what's wrong. I no longer see, like I said, God as an entity or this right or wrong thing because it's all together, right? So if wrong is right, then right is wrong. You know, like this, it's one of those things that I'm starting to just understand. That's why I talk a lot about balance. No matter what I understand, and no matter what people understand, God is what we choose to balance out the reality we experience.
He is who we need him to be in the moment.
God in general, before it is even a he, it is a feeling. And it's not even a he after the feeling, right? The feeling is what it is for each and every single individual person. I don't subscribe to one thing because I don't think the human mind is capable of fathoming who or what God is, right? Faith is necessary because there is a limit to what you know. There's a limit to what you can confirm and what you can do, right? So faith is a component of your psyche that is necessary in order for the blanks to be filled that you will never have the answers to. Submitting to the fact that you won't have all the answers is going to be your own individual journey, and what you end up choosing God to be or the way you choose to find God is going to be individual to everyone. So I encourage everyone to find a pillar of faith or a way to faith or an understanding of their own faith, because you are what you can do is finite, but the energy that flows through your vessel is not finite. And when connected to something beyond you, you can do things beyond your imagination. Absolutely. Faith is required for purpose, I believe.
Absolutely. And like to your point, it's really all about relationship. And I think taking kind of a step away from that for a second, but I think outside of, I agree to your point, and I've said this to listeners a million times about how it's really intentional that you kind of establish what that relationship looks like for you, right? But outside of that relationship, there are also other relationships, right? This idea of we are here. I never forget one of my mentors said to me, like, Tania, there's no such thing as a favor, right? Because at the end of the day, the same way that you serve people and you do things for them, it's going to always, to your point, it's going to always come back. And so you spoke about, I know one of your instances in Cali, but like, what role has relationships and other people, what role have they played in the pursuit of purpose?
That made me think of a story. I know I'm a storyteller. The first thing I thought of, I was at Afrotech and I saw this happy black man. I'm talking the happiest, freest black man I had ever seen. And I'm like, I just walked up to him, Augustine. I'm like, bro, what's your name? He told me his name, where he was from. He's a refugee. He told me like where he had come from and what he had overcome and taking care of his mom and sister and everything. He put his hands on my shoulders. He looked me dead in my eyes. He said, Andre, I just want you to become a yes man to yourself. If you got a dream, if you have anything you want to do, tell yourself yes. The world will tell you no enough times. Be a yes man to yourself. Man, when I tell you that black man, like there was another gentleman named Andre I'm out back, same thing, Afrotech. I'm taking pictures, but I'm on IG Live at the time, and I'm like, yo, y'all won't believe it. I made it in. I ain't paid for a ticket. I got blessed. I was able to come in and meet this person and do this, do that. Man, he overhears my story, and then he's like, yo, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Philly. I flew out here with $100. I got this camera. I'm just out here. I'm gonna take pictures. I'm gonna da-da-da-da. I'm like bubbling over because I'm in disbelief that I'm actually here, right? And I'm not hungry. I got good people around me. I don't even know what's going on tonight or where I'm sleeping at, but I'm good right now. I just met Chameleonaire and this person, that person. He said, bro, I believe in you so much, bro. Take my picture right now. How much? I just want you to just take my pictures right now. Tell me how much I'm gonna PayPal you right now. I was like, what? He said, how much? I want you to take my pictures right now. I took his pictures on the spot. He PayPal me on the spot. Andre Hatchett. That's my guy to this day, right? So relationships have been everything because people reflected at me what I had stopped believing about myself. They told me that they saw in me what they were trying to find in themselves, and I'm looking at people that I want to be like. So if that's the case, right? And what's lost in translation, right? If we're all the same and we all have these things and we see in each other what we don't have, whether we're high or low, then what is the thing? It's the acceptance of self, right? The love of self and who you are, where you are, and why you are. Having the faith and the knowledge of it in the moment and being completely fine with the fact that your interpretation might change in 30 seconds. It's okay.
Yes.
But having integrity and intensity about it. So like, without getting too lost from it, the relationships that I experienced during the lowest point of about me that was sparking their spirit, I knew that if I was valuable at my worst, I refused to die until I see myself at my best.
Period. I love it. And I even love this idea of not only do relationships play a role in purpose, but also they can alter and change it, right? And so I got to use this opportunity to shout out the fact that Andre Wise is about to be a daddy. Gang, 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 gang.
Whoa.
So first and foremost, congratulations, man.
Thank you so much.
Are you still processing this? Okay.
What? Absolutely. I mean, like, I don't think it's, especially because like I'm a black dad, right? So it's not like I'm carrying a child, right? So I feel like the transition from not being a dad to being a dad is, I'm starting to realize it's going to be a bit more abrupt, like you got to wait till you hear that cry and then everything starts changing from there and you just got to roll with it. So at least that's my interpretation so far. But I bought like pacifiers. I got some like laying around the crib. I bought some onesies because I don't want to wait to feel like I'm going to be a dad. Like, like I've been trying to give myself more tangibility around it. So I feel amazing about it. A queen on the way due September. And she's already challenged and encouraged me more than any person ever in my life. And I haven't even heard her voice yet.
I love that. But also I love it because I think a common misperception about purpose and children is like, once you have children, you lose it. But I don't, but you hear that a lot. Exactly. It's like, my purpose is now my kid. But I don't necessarily, and maybe I'll play devil's advocate. I want to get your views on it. I don't believe that. I believe that because think about it too, when Adam and Eve, like they both had individual purpose despite their union. Like I think we are all designed outside of even just being a parent. You still have purpose. Same way you still have a job, you still have careers. But more and more, I love social media because we're able to see that. People who are still walking in purpose with families. And so I guess even my question to you is, mind you, I believe that it can change purpose and evolve it. So how do you feel like purpose has changed for you with we'll call her baby queen on the way?
Baby queen. I honestly do feel like, even just reflecting on that, a lot of our generation did experience that, right? Like we were born at a moment where our parents had to almost like drop their dreams and then latch themselves onto responsibility to take care of us, right? And so we became their duty, but also because they dropped their dreams to provide for us, it was almost like an investment they were pouring into us, and that it made it necessary for that investment to be tenfold because of what was given up in lieu of this person being here. because that's a dynamic that I fully understand because I went to school to study our society and went to a HBCU and studied Black people and the socio-economic development of us, right? The best thing I know that I can do for my daughter is to be the best Black man that I can be. To walk tall and strong and to set an example that speaks more than my words do. And to show her that me living my purpose is an example of not necessarily how she can live hers, but just proof that she has freedom to.
Period. I love that. I love that. And you know what though? Honestly, baby queen couldn't have a better father. I know you're gonna deposit so much wisdom into her. Period. I'm excited. So you gotta send me your registry.
Dangerous,
you
and I'm so happy about it. I'm so happy about it. She's not listening. When her teachers call and tell me she got smart, I'm gonna be like, listen, I'm already knowing. Like, you can trust she's not going to be in trouble when she gets to the house because 9 times out of 10, you told her something that didn't make sense and you wanted her to be quiet about it. And that's not what we're raising over here. So if she decided to ask some questions in return, I'm going to need you to speak to my daughter respectfully and make sure you answer them questions.
Respectfully.
Because I'll be in the back of the classroom with my suit on, my leg up. You know what I'm saying? Like, go ahead.
Talk your shit. Talk your shit.
Hey, nothing. I will enjoy nothing more than empowering this Black woman to do whatever it is on the planet that she wants to do and to be who she wants to be, pick her own clothes. I've had visions of my daughter telling me what time nap time is.
I don't know about all of that now. Nap time.
I'm just saying, no, she feels diplomatic already. You know, like, Daddy, it's time for a nap. And I'm like, no, literally, like when my seatbelt alarm goes off in the car, I hear like, Daddy. I'm like, nah, she's really. It's crazy how in my brain, just like, and like I said, I'm a storyteller. I imagine things, but I'm also like looking at who I am, looking at who her mother is, and man, she's her mom's the closest thing I know to a Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? And then there's me, whatever, community activist, educator, blah 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 blah. I'm looking at the combination of who we are as people. Powerful. And the DNA and just like how long we've been friends. And you know, and it's a unique situation because we're not in a relationship, so we're co-parenting, right? But in that, it made me even more innately driven to walking in my truth and also making sure that I'm socially and economically sound. Because it's still got to be a unit. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't even want to call it unorthodox. I just feel like people don't think about the benefit of how their lives can like affect their children and how they can set their children up. So now we got all this knowledge about, you know, LLC set up, like baby girl gonna have an LLC before anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like she'll have everything set up for her and she'll have all the opportunities to be able to make mistakes and for me to be able to be like, that's what you're supposed to do. So now what do you want to do? Now that you see what you learn from messing up, where do you want to take that new information and put it into? You don't have to do that again. You learned your lesson from that. You could do something different if you want.
I love that.
I want to be able to give that platform, that freedom, that encouragement. And I don't even look at it in a way that I didn't have it anymore because my parents gave me the best of what they could. And so now I look at my step into fatherhood as like, you know, I'm getting past the baton, you know, like breaking generational curses and setting generational standards. And, you know, my goal is to help provide for 3 to 5 generations. And if I aim for that, I should be able to hit at least 2, hand the plans off to my offspring, and then we go from there.
And my thing is, you're even in that, you're already doing it. And so like, and I can't even wait. So stay tuned. Because we're going to have a family series in the near future. And by then you will have had it clean. Okay, period. So I cannot wait. But you know what? Against that point of all the things that you're planning on depositing into her, you're already doing it on your platform. And you definitely did it tonight. And so I want to make sure I say thank you on behalf of all my nieces and nephews out there, on behalf of the Cool Auntie and the brand, and you supporting. But okay, Andre Wise, it would not be right if you didn't drop a word of wisdom, okay? A wise word. It wouldn't be right if you didn't leave, you left without giving us a wise word. So speaking of that, right? So speaking now about this idea of passion, of purpose, and people in this space of really figuring out who the heck they are and what they want to do. What's one piece of wisdom or advice or resource or tool you would give them?
You know what? My favorite thing as of late, in terms of just releasing myself from unrealistic expectations and just wanting to be happy. It's been learning to be careful about the addition and subtraction that I think about in my life. And so I would encourage anyone who's trying to find peace, to heal, to move forward. Your past is a very important piece of who you are, but the math that you understand as a result of that is very important to how you see your opportunities in the present. If you perceive that your past subtracted a bunch of things away from you, then you will take a subtraction type of vision and look at your environment. It's not that those things are lies, but once you get over the subtraction that has happened, I want you to ask yourself, knowing all of that, what did it add to me?
Okay, because everything that left is not a subtraction. Okay.
What did it teach me? What did it leave room for? And so I encourage everyone to take a positive approach to what they feel like they've lost, because that perception is what gives you the ability to see and go after what you are to gain, what you can share with other people. And if we keep looking at our lives as negative, as what we've lost, then we'll never understand what we can give, because we don't understand what we've been given. If you look at what you've been given, you will feel obligated to give something away, because you'll know you have way more than what you need, way more than what you could ever hold to yourself. And so as I learned to take a positive, reflective look at my past, I realized that everything that happened to me happened for me. And if I use it as a platform instead of as an excuse, then I can do anything that I want to do. I can go anywhere I want to go. And there's nothing that can stand in my way, so long as I know the reason why I am taking the steps. And I don't let anybody stand in my way. And I make sure I do it with love, kindness, and humility in my heart. None of that is easy, but with the right thoughts, the right people, right books, right support system, right streams of consciousness going in, podcasts, TV shows, XYZ, you can change your whole dynamic of everything you'll ever do in life.
I love that. And with that, Andre, nothing but peace and love. We love you. He'll be back, I promise.
Thank you for having me, Queen. I appreciate you.
Hey. So I thank y'all for tuning in to season 2, episode 1. I hope that you enjoyed it. Andre is somebody who is near and dear to my heart, so I love getting to have him on. I couldn't think of a better person to start off season 2. Before we headed out, I have to always check in with y'all, always, because I never want to give people the impression that when you're talking about things like passion and purpose, like that they're simple, because they're not simple things. And I think sometimes, and in some cases, in many cases, actually, that's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey, to discovering purpose, discovering who you are. And once you figure it out in one season, you step into a new season and it's calling you somewhere else. And so if you're like, to me, that all makes sense, I want to make sure I just circle back to highlight one thing. I think, again, a common thing that people tend to misconstrue and to mix up is this idea of talent, passion, and purpose, because they are, in fact, different, right? Talent are the things that you have the ability to do, right? But more importantly, you have the ability to do well. Just because a thing is a talent doesn't mean that you are meant to do that thing. You just can. Right? And there are going to be opportunities and places and spaces where you're allowed to do them, and you want to go for that, but not to confuse your talents with your purpose, right? You also have passions. Those are the things that you like to do, that you're drawn to, that make you happy. And not saying that talents and purpose can't make you happy, but passions are things that you do for the love of it, right? Because they fulfill you. Where purpose is really what you are born to do, right? What you are created to do. And I think, again, to that point, you always hear this saying about how passions fuel purpose. Really, Jaffe? Sorry, y'all, I had to, okay? Because you know what? He wants to be involved, so he might as well come up here. Y'all can meet y'all cousin, since he want to be in the business. But a lot of times people, you hear that saying that passion fuels purpose, and that's true, right? I think the great thing about purpose is that God has already given us what we need to walk in it, right? And that does include many a times your talents and your passions. And so if you're like, Tania, that all sounds good in theory, but I still have no idea where to start. I wanted to at least encourage you, number one, to pray about it. At the end of the day, I can say a whole lot of things on here, but I'm a firm believer that only God can speak to you about what he wants to do with you, to you, and through you. Okay, and for you, right? And so I can't speak to that. So I always encourage you, when you have that quiet time, if you don't have that quiet time, make that quiet time and to ask him. But in the meantime, there are some questions that I want to kind of run past you to at least get your mind thinking about what purpose might look like for you. Okay? And so my first question that I love to always ask people is, if you could do anything, it didn't matter how much you got paid, where it was, what your mama or your daddy thought about it, where it would take you, the education you needed, the skills, the qualifications. If you could do anything, what would it be? Right? Number two, what or who do you have compassion for? I don't care. Even the hardest person has compassion, right? Who are you naturally drawn to? Right? I would even ask you, what agitates you? I love hearing the story about how Jesus' first miracle when he turned water into wine. It all started with a question or observation. Mary mentioned, like, hey, they ran out of wine. And Jesus is like, what they got to do with me? It's like, whoa, I was just making an observation. But now that you got, now that it poked a bear, go for it, And so a lot of time, the things that get under our skin, the things that you notice that nobody else seems to notice, things that bother you that don't seem to bother people around you. What are those things? And then lastly, to Andre's point earlier in the episode, your past didn't happen for no reason, right? God factored in everything, whether it be the things that happened to us that we had no control over, or even things that happened to us that we did play a part in, right? All of it, he works it all out for our good. So what have your experiences, your pain, what have they taught you? This idea of broken crayon, still color. We use that brokenness. What are some things that you went through? And why? Because to Andre's point, 9 times out of 10, they are directly tied to your purpose. You are the thing that you were missing. You are the thing that you needed. That's really what it's about. And so I encourage you, not only in this conversation, in the convos that you have with other people, and even throughout this series, be thinking about that, because you, my love, have purpose. There is something that you were put on this earth to do in such a way that only you can do it how you do it. And I want you to find it. He wants you to find it. But more importantly, I know that you want to find it. And so in the meantime, know that regardless, I love you. Okay? Love you so, so much. Call me back.
Like, what are these?